thank you to the Danbury Library for hosting and for everyone for being here tonight. Yeah, I feel like nervous system support, supporting stress and anxiety in the body seems to be the #1 reason that folks are coming to me in my clinical practice. And for good reason. I think it's been a very unusually stressful year, but just in general, you know, even without all the wild issues that are happening right now, I think there's just so many triggers for our nervous systems, and the plants truly are here to support us. And yeah, I'm just hoping after today's presentation, you'll just feel like you have some tools in your tool belt as far as supporting your nervous systems. So I wanted to mention before I get going in the presentation, just questions. So this is a very information heavy presentation. And I meant to check in with Catherine about this, but I'm hoping it will be okay to send everyone a copy of the slideshow after sometime after the class today. So hopefully everyone will be getting a copy of this presentation. So there are dozens and dozens of slides, and we're not going to get to all of them, but you can just go back to them in your own time. And then again, you know, feel free to take notes if you want. And if that's not feeling good, this will be recorded. So always go back and, you know, go over the parts that you want to go back to, and just kind of let whatever is going to sink in for this time. So yeah, so if there's a burning question, you can go ahead and type it in the chat as I'm presenting. And then at the end of the presentation, we're going to set aside about 10 minutes or so to go through any questions. And if we run out of time, or if a question pops up later, you can always feel free to reach out to me through email, and I'm happy to answer any questions that way as well. Great. So let's get started. And the way I like to begin this class is actually just by a quick grounding exercise, just to kind of calm us all down, get us grounded and rooted before we get into all this material. This is super simple, and I'm just inviting you to do this. If you don't feel comfortable, that's 100% okay. But what we're going to do, if you do feel comfortable, is just some big deep breaths together. So what I like to do is feel my feet on the ground if I'm sitting in a chair. If you're on a couch or your bed, just kind of root down the best you can, and just try to make some connection with the earth in whatever way that you can. And then we're just going to take 3 breaths in through our nose and out through our mouths. I like to keep one hand on my heart and one hand on my belly, and also close my eyes. So you can go ahead and do those things if that feels comfortable, or anything else that feels good to you. Okay, so here we go with 3 deep breaths in through our nose and out through our mouths. Here we go. Okay, beautiful job, everyone. And I am gonna switch my camera off for now, but I'll be back on the other side for questions. All right, so before we get into any of the plants, it's really important to zoom out and think about lifestyle and all the pieces that we really need to have in place in order to make sure that our nervous systems are set up to work optimally. So I'm just going to briefly go over each of these foundational pieces and why they're important. So the first piece, of course, is going to be sleep. So when we sleep, we're in the parasympathetic state. And that is the time when our nervous systems tell us that we're safe. You might know this state as our rest and digest state. So it's just the time that we feel safe, we're resting, we're digesting our food, and we're also repairing all of the cells in our body. And it's also a time when our livers are working really hard to process and therefore balance extra stress hormones in the body. So when we're not getting quality sleep or enough sleep, virtually every system in the body begins to have challenges. And all of, or many of the plants that we talk about today can be supportive for sleep. And when you're supporting your nervous system with plants that are calming, even if they're not making you fall asleep, even if they're not sedative plants, they're still going to be supportive when it comes time to get some sleep, because you've kind of taught your nervous system how to slow down already, how to enter that parasympathetic state. So there's going to be a lot of plants you're going to have in your toolkit to call on for that. But honestly, for sleep, the best thing you can do is just focus on all of these other foundational pieces and just try to get whichever ones into balance where you can, as many into balance as you can. That will be the most supportive thing. Okay, so the next piece, of course, is stress management. So our bodies are designed to handle short-term stressful situations. And our nervous systems are basically these sensory machines. And we're just walking around the world gathering information through our sensory receptors, and then deciding if it's time to slip into our fight or flight response, which is called our sympathetic response, or if it's safe enough to be in our rest and digest or our parasympathetic response. So a beautiful classic example of this, and I believe this comes from the book Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, which is a book all about the stress response, the human stress response. But the example is thinking about being one of the first humans back in the day. So it's very early times, and you're out there maybe gathering food, and you perceive that a tiger is close by. So what happens is your stress response gets triggered. So your body perceives this stressful situation, and then a cascade of all these physical reactions start to happen. So your immune system shuts down, your digestive system shuts down, your reproductive system shuts down, and all of the blood gets pulled away from non-essential organs. So basically all of the organs in your core, all of that blood gets pulled out into your extremities, so you have enough energy to run and fight. So this would be so very helpful if we were actually fighting a tiger. But the problem is our nervous systems haven't really adapted to the modern world. So the amount of tigers that are coming at us may have declined, but the constant everyday stress that we experience has infinitely multiplied, and our bodies can't tell the difference between tiny everyday stresses and an actual tiger. So every plant that we talk about today is going to be useful in getting us out of that fight or flight response and back into that parasympathetic response. And I hope this list doesn't stress you out, but just gives you some compassion for your sweet little nervous system and inspires you to not only call on the plants, but call on any stress reducing technique that you already use in your world. So meditation, taking a bath, going for a walk, calling a friend, deep breathing like we just did. All of these things can be really supportive just to calming you down, getting you back into that parasympathetic state. And this is just a list off the top of my head. There are so many more stressors that are coming at us, but I think probably all of us here are experiencing, 15 to 20 of these on a daily basis. So yeah, it's a lot. Our nervous systems are dealing with a lot. And I wanted to just talk about this alarm clock piece really quickly. This is one that folks might be curious about. So if you are a person who is still waking up in the morning to a very loud, annoying, maybe a beeping alarm clock, I just want to lovingly share that truly is setting you up for a immediate stress response first thing in the morning. So if there's any way that you could get used to waking up to a softer alarm, some soft music or some chimes or something like that, I would give that a go, and just see how that changes the course of your day. Because if you are waking up and immediately in that fight or flight response, you're really just setting the tone for your day. So I wanted to mention that. Okay, so let's get back to these foundational pieces. So the next piece that we want to talk about is vitamin D or sunlight. So getting outside for natural sunlight or supplementing with vitamin D. And if you are going the supplementation route, I would suggest vitamin D3. This is a form of vitamin D that our bodies recognize and are used to assimilating. This is going to be wonderful support for your nervous system. And it's supportive for stress and anxiety, depression, just overall nervous system regulation. And there are also some really incredible sun-bearing plants. So let's see, ones that are coming to mind are St. John's wort, chamomile, calendula. So these are those really bright, kind of sunny, often yellow plants. And these truly bring in that warming light of the sun into your body, that sun energetic. So that's a nice way to receive the energetic medicine if you're just feeling kind of, I'm picturing like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh or something, just kind of feeling a little low in your spirit. So not only supplementing with vitamin D3 or getting out there in the sun, but also calling on the energetics of the sun from sun-bearing plants can be really supportive. And then also you can get vitamin D into your diet. So just really leafy greens, kale, collard greens, those are going to be great support for you. Okay, the next foundational piece is hydration. So ideally, everyone should be drinking half of their body weight in ounces of water every day. So I'll say that one more time. However much you weigh, you should be drinking half of that in water every single day. And just fixing this one piece is going to help with fatigue levels, inflammation in the body, which we'll learn about in a moment as a major cause for nervous system disruption. Drinking enough water is going to help with depression, anxiety, insomnia, so much more. So virtually every human is chronically dehydrated. So I would suggest actually getting a water bottle that says how many ounces is on it, so you can actually track how much you're drinking, because 9 times out of 10, you may think, oh, I'm drinking a ton of water every day. But when you actually try to drink half of your body weight in ounces, you're going to find that you might need a little bit more than that. So yes, that is the water piece. And then the next foundational piece to support your nervous system is going to be exercise or moving the body. So this does not have to be crazy intense cardio. This can be gentle stretching, yoga, scooting up against the wall and maybe putting your legs up against the wall. Taking a 10-minute walk. If you just take a 10-minute walk every day, if you could fit that in 2 to 3 times a day, that would be amazing. But even just once is going to be really supportive, just to get lymph moving, and that's going to support the hormones moving through your body. It's going to support your liver. It's just a beautiful support piece. And it doesn't have to be put off until tomorrow. I think a lot of people think they have to go to the gym or schedule in this big workout every day, but you know, it can just be like a little swivel or two when you're in the kitchen cooking dinner, you know, a couple turns as you like go to open the fridge. It can be really simple and playful. So wanted to mention that. And then, all right, so the last foundational piece to supporting your nervous system is an anti-inflammatory diet. So this last piece is so important. I can't stress this enough. Most of us are experiencing levels of systemic inflammation in our diet because of our diet. And this just means that our diet is so acidic that it's causing inflammation in the body. And our diet is acidic when we're eating excess sugar, processed foods, too much caffeine, too much dairy, things like that. And this is a really important one to think about, because when our bodies are inflamed, we get stuck in this cycle of producing too much cortisol, which is a stress hormone, and other stress hormones. And then this messes up our nutrient absorption. So we're not able to receive the nutrients from the food that we're eating. And this then, of course, messes up our GI function. So just our overall digestion. It interacts with our ability to sleep, our ability to get quality sleep, our ability to clear out toxins in the body, our ability to clear out excess stress hormones, and so much more. And then all of this kind of imbalance then just increases the inflammation. So that then increases our stress hormones, and it just locks us into this forever infinite loop of just not feeling our best, and not, our nervous systems just aren't working optimally. So when we think about nourishing the nervous system, we really want to think about decreasing inflammation in the body. And a giant step towards this is changing our diet to an anti-inflammatory diet. And a great example of this is something called the Whole30 diet. So I'm not going to spend too much time going over that, but if you wanted to, you know, search that on the web, there will be tons of information about what that looks like. But it's basically just reaching for foods that are not processed, sticking to vegetables in every color of the rainbow, fruits, eggs, healthy organic meats, and then eventually adding in potential triggers like grains, dairy, and legumes, just one at a time to see how your body can tolerate them. So I highly recommend checking out the Whole30. If you're hearing this and you intuitively feel like, gosh, my gut could use a reset, or if you just have a hunch that diet and inflammation is kind of causing or playing a big part in your overall imbalance, or just feelings of imbalance in your body. Okay, so those were the foundations. So now let's inch our way towards the plants. So before we dive into specific plants, I wanted to go over the plant actions that are most indicated for the nervous system. And once you get a copy of this slideshow, you'll see that it's organized in such a way that there's sections of kind of each of these actions, and then several plants underneath each section. So you can really get to know these categories and get to know these plants in an organized way. So, but let's just quickly go over what these plant actions mean, what they are. And basically a plant action is just how the plant behaves in the body, how it interfaces with the tissue states, and yeah, just kind of what it's doing in there. So nervines or nervines are going to be the general category of plants that include any plant that supports the nervous system. And then beneath that general category, we have these subcategories of different types of nervines. So we have nervine stimulants, and these are going to be indicated for depression. These are plants that directly stimulate the nervous system. So if you're feeling a little brain foggy, or just having some trouble getting out of bed in the morning, this is a great class of herbs to call on. And some beautiful examples of nervine stimulants are rosemary and cinnamon. Those are probably my two favorites. And then we have nervine relaxants or nervine sedatives. And these are going to be plants that directly relax and calm the nervous system. So this is going to be indicated more for anxiety. If you're using words like, oh, I just feel really, really fried, something, or frazzled, something like that, this would be a good class of herbs for you to call on. And some really beautiful herbs in this class are blue vervain, skullcap, and passion flower. All right, and then the next category are nervine tonics or tropho-restoratives. So these are such an important class of herbs. They basically feed and tonify the nervous system. So they're going to be great for deep burnout, chronic stress, and chronic depletion after drug and alcohol use. So if you just feel like you've been stressed and burnt out for as long as you can remember, then you really need to rebuild and repair the nervous system from the ground up. So this is going to be a class of herbs that really come in handy for that. And some beautiful examples of nervine tonics might be oat straw or milky oats, and also skullcap. So you'll notice that skullcap was also categorized as a sedative or relaxant, and many of these plants kind of can fit into different categories for different reasons. But as you get to know them, it will become clear, which one is indicated for you in which moment. Okay, and the next class is going to be hypnotic nervines. So these are going to be the nervines that really relax the nervous system, and so much so that they can be very supportive for sleep. So a classic example of this might be valerian or kava. And then there's kind of a gradient of hypnotic herbs. So skullcap is actually also considered a hypnotic herb, but it's not going to be a plant that makes you pass out in the middle of the day if you take it. Whereas if you took valerian, that might really make you sleepy right away. So again, you'll get to know the nuances with these plants. All right, and then the next class that's indicated for the nervous system is going to be adaptogens. So adaptogens are plants that are essential for helping the body adapt and deal with any kind of stress. So this can be emotional stress, if you're just feeling stressed out. This can be physical stress. So if you're experiencing inflammation in the body, it can be helpful for that. Also really helpful for environmental stress. So if you've been exposed to toxins, or maybe there's some mold in your house or something like that, adaptogens can be really supportive for your body in that way. And the one thing I'll mention about adaptogens, just because it's kind of relevant to our world right now, is adaptogens are so good at kind of tricking your body into thinking that everything's okay and we got this. You can chill out, you can tone down that inflammation, all of that. They're so good at that they actually can be a bit problematic if your body is trying to have a healthy immune response. So inflammation is part of a healthy immune response. So it's not a good idea to take adaptogens if you have an active infection. And I also feel like I would lay off them if you are getting vaccinated for maybe a day or two on either end of the vaccination, just to kind of let your body have a chance to just do what it wants to do naturally. So wanted to mention that. Okay, and the next class is going to be antispasmodic plants. So these are great for folks that hold tension in their bodies when they get stressed. So if you are someone that gets migraines when you're stressed out, If your shoulders and your neck and your jaw get really clenched, antispasmodics can be great just for relieving that tension. They're also really supportive for kind of like digestive trouble. So if you're someone who, when you get stressed out, if your digestion kind of clenches up, and that can manifest physically as any sort of a GI imbalance. So diarrhea or also constipation, kind of the whole spectrum. But antispasmodics can be nice just for calming that nervous tissue in your gut and supporting digestion there, if that's an issue for you when you get stressed. Okay, and the next class is antidepressants. So of course, these are going to be herbs that support the body move through depression. And there's some beautiful antidepressant herbs. Lemon balm is a really beautiful one. Chamomile has antidepressant properties. And of course, probably the most famous is going to be St. John's wort. And St. John's is a little tricky. We're not going to talk about that one too much today, but there is some more information in your slides about St. John's. But you just have to be careful if you're taking any pharmaceuticals. It's not a good idea to mix St. John's wort with pharmaceuticals. Okay, and then the next and final class that are indicated for the nervous system are analgesics. So herbs that relieve pain. And of course, this is really important because our nerve endings and just how we experience pain in the body is so connected to our overall nervous system health, and also the amount of stress hormones in our body, our anxiety, depression, all of that. So calling on analgesic herbs can be really supportive. All right, and as you get to know the plants, as you really have some time to sit with this presentation and introduce yourself to the different plants that you're going to be learning about, I wanted to offer this model. It's called a Plant of the Week model, but you could also spread this out to Plant of the Month if you wanted to. And it's just a really nice way to slow down and just try to experience the plant in as many different ways as you can, as many different preparations. So tinctures, alcohol extractions, oils, teas, honeys, vinegars. There's so many ways that you can experience the plant physically, and ingesting it or putting it on your body. But there's also a lot of really beautiful energetic ways you can experience a plant. So just sitting with the plant, if you have some growing in your garden or you find some out in the wild, sitting beside it can be a really sweet way to get to know the plant. Taking a little bit and putting it in your pocket, or sleeping with a bit beneath your pillow, adding a little bit to your bath. There's just so many ways you can engage with plant medicine. And I will share that if you're interested in more of the energetics and spirit medicine of plants, a way to access that is just having very small doses. So, or not ingesting it physically, but just kind of keeping it on your body. But if you are interested in ingesting it, make a pot of tea, make a cup of tea, and just have a few sips, and that's going to give you the energetic or spirit dose of the plant. And that can be really profound for moving stress patterns and breaking through anxiety and more of the emotional aspects to being a human. And then if you're wanting more of that physical medicine, leaning more towards a larger dose, so like a whole cup of tea, something like that. So yeah, hope you have fun with this piece. And I do want to mention one of my favorite quotes in herbal medicine is, "Remember, plants are people too." And I just find that to be so true. I think as you are getting to know these plants, you may have heard, oh gosh, chamomile is such a great plant for this or that. And then when you take the time to get to know it, you might figure out that, gosh, this isn't really a plant that works that well in my body or works that well with my spirit. And there might be another plant that's that's way more suited for me. So it's the same with people, you know, you might have a friend that says, oh, you got to meet this friend. They're really great. And then you meet them and you don't really get along or it just doesn't work, you know, with you. Maybe just on that particular day, maybe you'd meet them another day and they'd be great. But plants are truly like that. So just giving yourself the time and space to get to know them is a good idea. Okay. All right. So I wanted to share this tea blend. This is a blend that I make for clients all the time. It's so lovely. It's so gentle and supportive. It's a great blend for someone that's kind of just getting into herbal medicine and wanting something that tastes tastes pretty good. A lot of herbal medicine doesn't taste that great, I hate to say, but this blend is very tasty. And we're going to spend some time really going in depth to the first 4 plants in this blend in just a moment. But I did just want to quickly mention some special things about these last 4. So all of these plants are nervines. All of them support the nervous system. And hawthorn is a beautiful plant for supporting folks that hold stress in their heart space. So if you're someone who, if you get heart palpitations or if your heart just kind of clenches up when you feel stressed out, hawthorn is a really great plant to call on. It is sacred to traditional Celtic medicine, which I find interesting because that's my personal ancestry. So I enjoy calling on hawthorn for that reason, but it works great with all all cultures, all heritages. But if you do have an affinity or connection to the Celtic ancestry, it might be a good plant for you to make a connection with. And then hawthorn is also actually in the rose family. So rose is also a very beautiful, gentle nervine. It also has an affinity for the heart. It's just very calming to the nervous system. But I wanted to kind of point out that these are both plants that are kind of well known for their thorn. And I think when you are working with plant medicine to support the nervous system, getting some help with boundaries can be really supportive. So I think oftentimes we help everyone else in our worlds except for ourselves, and we're really good at giving, but maybe have some trouble with boundaries when it comes time to take care of ourselves or have our own self-care rituals. And the hawthorn and the rose are both really good plants for just tending to that boundary piece and supporting our hearts stay open while staying boundaried as well. And then ginger, I wanted to just mention, when you're wanting to support the nervous system, supporting your body with root medicine. So ginger is a root. It's so very powerful and important, because often when we're feeling anxiety, when we're feeling depressed, when we're just not feeling our best, the tendency is to kind of flee from our bodies, right? So sometimes that can look like reaching for substances or just not really feeling connected enough to our bodies, even to create the self-care that we need. So ginger really grounds you back into your body. It's great for inflammation. So it's really important, as we know, to support the inflammation in our bodies and help kind of regulate that. So ginger is great for that. It's great for the autonomic nervous tissue that's in our gut. So again, if you're someone who gets really, feels their stress in their stomach, ginger is great for that. It's a blood mover. This is really helpful because if you have been in a pattern of just especially like childhood trauma or something like that, if you can trace back stress and anxiety, you know, for many years, this is going to tell you that your body has gotten in the habit of trying to self-preserve by, so basically when we're stressed, all the blood leaves our digestive system, right? Because it's going to our extremities, so we have enough energy to run and fight because we're in that fight or flight. But if you're constantly having these major stresses every single day from a young age, your body overcompensates and it tries to hold on to some of that blood and some of that heat in your stomach. So therefore it makes your extremities really cold. So if you experience cold hands and feet, and that's kind of been a constant thing throughout your life, and you also identify as someone who experiences daily anxiety or has trouble managing stress, or maybe has identified childhood trauma, ginger could be a really powerful ally for you just to kind of get that blood moving again. And then cinnamon is so amazing. Cinnamon is it's a nervine stimulant, so it can be helpful for that depression or that heaviness that you might feel. It's also a blood sugar regulator. So if you're someone who reaches for treats when you're feeling stressed, reaches for that extra cookie, or it leans more on like really like heavy carbs or something like that to get you through the day, that's going to cause inflammation, right? So cinnamon is really awesome at just regulating that blood sugar, so you don't feel like you need that sugar rush all the time, and that can be really supportive. And then it also enhances the actions of the other plants, which is pretty special. And then energetically, cinnamon is similar to ginger in that it can help make you feel at home in your body. It can help inspire a sense of safety in the home of your body. Okay, and then I just want to share, I would recommend drinking 3 cups of this per day for nervous system regulation. And if you're making this at home, I pretty much did equal parts of everything for this, except 3 parts of hawthorn, just because it's one of my favorites, and it's very tasty. It's kind of tart, which I like. And then I did 2 parts of Tulsi, and then everything else was 1 part. And these are really easy to find. Hawthorn might be the trickiest one to get your hands on, but most herb shops are going to have that. And all these other ones, you could probably get at the grocery store in one form or the other. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper into the first 4 plants of that tea blend. And before we do that, I just want to share kind of what you're looking at right now, because every plant slide in this presentation is going to be set up in this way. So just to kind of give you a quick roadmap. So Tulsi here, this is going to be the common name. So the common name of the plant, where, pretty much everyone is going to know what you're saying if you say, I'm looking for some Tulsi. But then underneath that, we have the Latin name, so Oxymum sanctum. And the Latin names are important to reference and know. You don't have to memorize them all, but they are important to know if you are trying to grow these on your own or source them from anywhere. The reason being is that although common names are common, and many people know and use them, different regions of the country and different countries may have a different common name for the plant. So using the Latin name is like the universal language, so you're getting exactly what you want. And then this is kind of like a last name, first name situation. So Oxymum is the genus and Sanctum is the species. And for Tulsi, there's actually many species of Tulsi that are medicinal in virtually the exact same ways. But Oxymum sanctum is the Tulsi that I grow, that I work with, that I know the best. So that's why I'm sharing this one. But there are many species that you could try. And then right here where it says cooling post-digestion, warming pre-digestion, this is just talking about the plant's energetics, and so how it behaves on tissue states in the body, what it's doing to those tissue states. And then we have the area where we list all the plant actions. So hopefully you recognize some of these actions: adaptogen, nervine, antidepressant. And underneath, I listed many of the other plant actions for these plants. For many of the plants in the slides, I tried to kind of stick to the actions that were most relevant to the nervous system. But for Tulsi, I wanted to list as many as I could, just to show you the scope and kind of vast medicine of Tulsi. But many plants that we're going to talk about today and that are in these slides have just as many plant actions. So plant medicine is just so nuanced and curious. It really gets into the body and figures out exactly what your body needs in that moment. And that is very special. So I wanted you to know about that. And okay, so let's get into Tulsi a little bit. So Tulsi is old. It has more than 3,000 years of recorded medicinal use. It's very sacred to Hinduism. It's a plant traditionally used in Ayurvedic medicine, and it's referred to as Queen of the Herbs. And I love using Tulsi, just when a person is really burnt out, if they just feel like they have been tired forever, if they've been diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, or maybe they're just in general not sleeping that great. I really love this piece here when you indicated from when you didn't sleep that much, but you still have to be nice to people the next day. I've personally used Tulsi in this way, and I've helped some clients, just have a sunnier disposition in their days, even when they're not sleeping that much. So maybe if you're a new mom, or if you're just experiencing insomnia, or for whatever reason you're not getting that great night of sleep, but you still kind of have to carry on and show a happy face to the world, Tulsi can be supportive for that. It's great for clearing brain fog. So again, if you're someone who gets just kind of sluggish in your cognition when you feel stressed out, Tulsi can be so supportive for that. One of my favorite things about Tulsi is that it works along our HPA axis, and specifically it works with the hypothalamus in our brains to help heal inherited stress or an inherited ancestral trauma. And this is just so profound to me. I think a word that many of us might know about is epigenetics, or the idea that stress responses or other physical conditions can be inherited through our DNA. And I just think this is so beautiful that Tulsi can help us repair these inherited stress patterns, because maybe something that was serving your grandparents or great grandparents or your parents might not be serving you any longer. Maybe you're physically not in the same stressful situations that they were, so you don't need to have those inherited stress responses. And Tulsi can be so helpful for just helping to repattern and help you let go of stuff you don't need to be holding on to any longer. And then I also love calling on Tulsi because it's so great at working with our endocrine system. It's beautiful for balancing hormones. So if you are going through menopause, perimenopause, if that is particularly stressing you out, Tulsi, again, is Queen of the Herbs and just a total goddess plant. So it can really support you in that space. And I love calling on Tulsi as a tea. I think it makes a really yummy tea, but it's also nice as a fresh plant tincture. That's an alcohol extraction. It's great as a glycerate, and it's really beautiful as an infused honey. And then I would just be careful with pregnancy. Most herbalists tend to recommend to avoid Tulsi at least until the second trimester. Here's a beautiful recipe for Tulsi infused honey that you can look at in your own time and make at home. It's really lovely. It tastes great, and it's also really nice as like a honey mask. So if you are wanting to have a spa day at home, this would be a really nice, nice herbal spa treatment. Okay, and the next plant I want to go over is lemon balm. So lemon balm, oh, so cooling, so lovely, so gentle, great for elders, great for kids. Um, just a really superstar plant for the nervous system. One thing I'll point out, and you might notice this with the Tulsi and also the next plants we're going to discuss, is so lemon balm is also cooling post-digestion and warming pre-digestion. So basically that just means it's supportive to your digestive system. And the way we can tell that from the plant actions is this word right here, carminative. So this means that a plant is going to support with like gas and bloating, and just in general be a digestive support plant. But when you have a plant that is not only a carminative, but also a nervine, this means every single time that it's going to have this similar energetic here of cooling post-digestion, warming pre-digestion, but also you can bet every single time that when a plant is a nervine and also a carminative, that it's going to be awesome for folks that hold stress in their stomachs. So it's a simple, easy connection to make when you're learning about these plants and their plant actions. So yeah, lemon balm is great for folks that hold stress in their stomach. It's also really beautiful for folks that hold stress in their hearts. If you have heart palpitations that get worse with stress, it's beautiful for that. And it's specifically indicated for those that are kind of like type A or hyper-focused on achievement, any Virgos out there, or just, yeah, folks that when you get stressed out, if your go-to is just like busting out your to-do list and just trying to, you know, check everything off the list. Lemon balm can just be so gentle for just calming that tendency down, helping you to stay present in your body, helping you to slow down. And then, yeah, helpful for heartaches, to mention that. But I do want to mention this piece. So lemon balm, as I mentioned earlier, is a beautiful antidepressant. So it's going to bring light to the spirit, but it does that in a bit of a different way than some of the other light-bearing plants that we talked about. So some of those were St. John's wort, chamomile, and calendula. So those are really bright, sunny plants. And that could be wonderful if you identify with that bright solar energy. But if you're someone who, maybe you're an introvert, maybe you work at night, you're a night owl, something like that. You just really don't identify with that bright solar energy. Lemon balm brings light to the spirit, but it's this softer, I can only describe it as moonlight. It truly does feel that way. It's just gentle and soft. So wanted to mention that in case any folks identify with that piece. And then, yeah, it's great for insomnia, great for ADHD, helpful for nightmares for both children and adults. And then it's just great if you're really burned out, under extended emotional stress. I would drink an entire quart of lemon balm a day. So just making a quart of tea and drinking that throughout the day. And then I did want to mention about lemon balm that it's cooling to the thyroid. So if you identify as having hypothyroid, Hashimoto's, if you're on thyroid medication, I would avoid large doses of lemon balm. If it's in your tea blend, you know, and you're just having a cup here and there, that's fine. But I would not consistently be drinking lemon balm tea or taking as a tincture if you do feel like you have hypothyroid symptoms. Okay, this is a great lemon balm glycerin recipe. You can go back to that on your own. And I have my eye on the clock here. I think I'm just going to go for 2 more minutes and just cut our questions a little bit. But I do want to mention a few things about these last 2 plants. Okay, so milky oats. So milky oats are this top part of the plant here, this little pod. When you squeeze that, when it's time to harvest milky oats, this milky latex comes out. And this medicine is so profoundly important for the nervous system. It actually repairs the myelin sheath of frayed nerve endings. And frayed nerve endings happen from chronic stress, chronic drug and alcohol use, standard American diet, if you have inflammation in the body, autoimmune imbalances, epilepsy, MS. There's many ways that, many triggers for your body to kind of fray the nerve endings there. But milky oats just, it gets in there and just calms and coats and soothes those nerve endings. So it's pretty profound. And the other plant in our Materia Medica that can do that is skullcap. And for both skullcap and milky oats, if you are wanting that medicine to repair the frayed nerve endings, you're going to want to get a fresh plant tincture. So that's going to be a fresh plant alcohol extraction. And then I wanted to mention the other part of the plant. So the pod is the milky oat when it's in season. And then everything else is considered oat straw. And oat straws is a beautiful medicine for really nourishing and feeding the nervous system. And my favorite way to use oat straw is with other really mineral-rich herbs like nettle, red raspberry, red clover, and then making nourishing herbal infusions with those. Okay, and then just the one thing I want to share about chamomile before we run out of time is try making a chamomile cold infusion. So we probably all grew up drinking chamomile tea, right? Using hot water, and hot water extracts the medicine in chamomile that's calming to the GI and supportive for sleep. But cold water is going to extract more of the anti-anxiety and antidepressant qualities. And one of my favorite ways to use this medicine is making a cold infusion before I go to bed. This is a quick direction here on how to do that. And you let that sit overnight for about 8 to 10 hours. And then in the morning, strain out and drink first thing. And that just sets you up in the parasympathetic state right away. It's so calming, it's so hydrating, it helps your body actually absorb the water it drinks. So that can really be helpful for the hydration piece. So yeah, try out a chamomile cold infusion if you can. And yeah, this is another great recipe. And then I'm going to switch over to questions here, but I wanted to draw your attention to this slide, which is my ultimate nervous system support recommendations. So just when you have a moment, check this out in your own time. And yeah, I think I'll switch over to questions. And also just want to mention, God, there's just so many slides, so much information, but there is at the very end a slide about where to source all of these herbs. So if you wanted to make these remedies on your own, this would be a great slide to head to.